When you hear the phrase American Patriot, what image comes to mind? Perhaps you picture a bald eagle wearing sunglasses. And the eagle can fly, but it's an American, so it prefers to ride a Harley Davidson. Many of you are probably watching this and saying to yourself, yes, finally somebody who gets it. And to that I say, you're welcome. But also, I like to counter your motorcycle riding bald eagle with who I think is an exemplary American patriot. 20-year-old gun control activist, Emma González.
The people in the government who are voted into power are lying to us. And us kids seem to be the only ones who notice and are prepared to call BS. Companies trying to make caricatures of the teenagers nowadays, saying that all we are is self-involved and trend-obsessed, and they hush us into submissions when our message doesn't reach the ears of the nation. We are prepared to call BS.
That excerpt is from Emma González's We Call BS speech, which she delivered just 3 days after surviving the Parkland school shooting, and is ultimately what kicked off one of the largest democratic movements in American history. But before we get to that, like this video and subscribe to Shine Global, because we're an Emmy and Oscar award-winning nonprofit film production company, and your viewership allows us to keep making videos like this one every week. All right, let's get into it. This week's activist is Emma González, a 20-year-old who's currently leading a national movement around the issue of gun control that's uniting millions of Americans regardless of class, creed, or political affiliation. After surviving a mass school shooting at her high school in 2018, Emma vowed never again and formed Never Again MSD with her fellow classmates, a student-led political action committee that advocates for tighter regulations to prevent gun violence. Maybe you're asking yourself, how can someone who wants to take away guns possibly be an American patriot? But the fact is, Emma González is not trying to prohibit the right to bear arms.
Yes! Yes!
In fact, she's actually vocal about being pro-Second Amendment.
I've talked to many men who are like, you need to say that you're not against guns and that you're not against the Second Amendment. And I'm like, we have been, but a lot of media takes that out. We try our very darndest to get out the fact that we don't want to take away guns and that we are pro-Second Amendment. We're not trying to take guns out of society. We're trying to regulate them.
Okay, so Emma González and Never Again MSD aren't trying to get rid of the Second Amendment. They're advocating for gun regulation to reduce gun violence. And the amazing thing is they're doing all of this by empowering Americans, all Americans, to vote, so that the issues that matter to the people will actually be reflected by the politicians in power, so that we have a government for the people, by the people. What is more patriotic than that? Nothing, except for maybe Emma González with an American flag riding a Harley Davidson. And what we have to remember is that she's doing all of this while being a kid. Emma was only 18 when she helped organize March for Our Lives, a student-led demonstration in support of legislation to prevent gun violence, which took place in DC and was attended by an estimated 1.2 to 2 million people, making it one of the largest protests in American history. And she did it all when she was only 18. Nothing encapsulates this better to me than this clip I found from the day of March for Our Lives.
What is the one thing that you really want to come out of today, Emma?
I want an incredibly large voter registration turnout to happen here. I want people who don't understand what we're feeling to come away from this thinking, I might understand this. The Beatles! So I put this song on the playlist, by the way.
That casual flex on the reporter. She was like, yeah, I organized an international movement that's forever changing the course of American politics, and I also make dope playlists. I think that's one of the things that makes Emma González so amazing to watch. She is unabashedly a youth activist. She doesn't pretend to have all the answers, and she's certainly not pretending to be an adult. And why would she want to? Her entire lived experience has been one in which the adults in power have failed to protect her community and her country.
And maybe the adults have gotten used to saying, it is what it is, but if us students have learned anything, it's that if you don't study, you will fail. And in this case, if you actively do nothing, people continually end up dead. So it's time to start doing something.
At the very least, it's clear that Emma González is doing something. In the 2018 midterm elections, she and Never Again MSD galvanized a historic youth turnout. with a 47% increase over the last midterm elections and the highest percentage of youth voter turnout in America's history. And those who voted made their policy preferences very clear. A record 46 NRA-backed candidates lost elections that year. And in March of 2018, the Florida legislature passed the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Act, a bill that raised the minimum age for buying firearms to 21, established waiting periods and background checks, and barred violent people arrested under certain laws from possessing guns. All this to say, Emma González democratically shifted the culture, and she is undoubtedly an American patriot. Everyone, thank you so much for watching today. If there's an activist you want me to talk about in next week's video, please leave a comment below. Like this video, subscribe to Shine Global, and I will see you all next week.